December 31st, 2019. Health authorities in China confirmed that dozens of people in Wuhan, China are being treated for pneumonia from an unknown source. Many of those sickened had visited a live animal market in Wuhan, but authorities say there is no evidence of the virus spreading from person to person.
January 11th, 2020. Chinese state media reports the first death from novel coronavirus, a 61-year-old man who had visited the live animal market in Wuhan.
January 21st, 2020. A man in his 30s from Washington state who had traveled to Wuhan is diagnosed with novel coronavirus. Japan, South Korea, and Thailand also report their first cases one day prior.
January 23rd, 2020. China imposes aggressive containment measures in Wuhan, the epicenter of the outbreak, suspending flights and trains and shutting down subways, buses, and ferries in an attempt to stem the spread of the virus.
January 30th, 2020. For the sixth time in history, the World Health Organization declares a public health emergency of international concern, a designation reserved for extraordinary events that threaten to spread internationally.
February 11th, 2020, the WHO announces the novel coronavirus's formal new name is COVID-19. CO stands for coronavirus, VI is for virus, and D is for disease. Health officials purposely avoid naming COVID-19 after a geographical location, animal, or group of people so as to not stigmatize people or places.
February 26th, 2020. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, confirms the first case of COVID-19 in a patient in California with no travel history to an outbreak area, nor contact with anyone diagnosed with the virus. It's suspected to be the first instance of local transmission in the United States. Oregon, Washington, and New York soon report their own cases of possible community transmission.
February 29th, 2020. The first COVID-19 death is reported in Washington state after a man with no travel history to China dies on February 28th at Evergreen Health Medical Center in Kirkland, Washington.
March 13th, 2020. President Donald Trump declares a U.S. national emergency, which he says will open up $50 billion in federal funding to fight COVID-19.
Thursday, March 12th. It was the day my life changed. I was busy doing laundry and getting ready to go to New York City with my college choir. A couple of days earlier, I started learning about a virus, but didn't think much about it. Then, I got the email that the trip was canceled and school would be online for a couple of weeks. So, instead of heading to New York, now I was on my way to Toledo, Ohio. I was planning to visit a close friend when in New York, but it was okay. We knew we would see each other at a conference in Arizona in July. Within a week, school was now online for the rest of the semester. I wasn't happy to not be able to see my friends, but it was okay because I was planning to see them during the summer.
Welcome home, Ryan.
Thanks, Mom. It was kind of shocking to be home early due to this coronavirus spreading around. All college students in the area were forced to be sent home ASAP.
I know it was a surprise, but I'm glad you're home so you can be safe.
Me too.
I'm going to cook spaghetti for tonight.
Okay, cool.
Is everything okay, sweetie?
Yeah, everything's fine. Can I go upstairs now?
Sure, son.
Hey, Ryan.
Hey, man. Just wanted to see how you were doing.
I'm doing pretty all right so far. It's only been a couple hours since we left campus, and I miss people already.
Same here, man. Would it be cool if I talked to you about what's been going on with me these past couple of weeks?
Yeah, dude, you can tell me anything.
Okay, well, there was this group of guys that kept harassing me at school. They kept calling me racial slurs and told me to go back to where I came from. It hurts me knowing that I can't have a decent life because of my skin color. I don't know why people act like that.
I don't know what to tell you, man. There are bad people in the world that bring hate towards others because they can't think straight. I guess some people think that looking different means you're not worthy of life. You gotta stay strong.
It just hurts. It makes me feel like I'm back in high school. Same hateful people, same hateful actions.
I know, but that's just how life is sometimes. There isn't much we can do. You know, my dad used to say, don't spoil the ending, but everything's gonna be okay as long as we keep moving forward. Have you talked to your mom about how you're feeling yet?
I couldn't come forward with myself. I'm probably not going to tell my mom yet.
Why not?
I just don't want to worry her. She's already got enough on her plate with being laid off.
I get it, but sooner or later you're gonna have to talk to her. She just worries about you, and not talking to her probably doesn't
Hey
help.
Ryan, dinner's almost ready.
Okay, Mom, I'll be down in a minute. Hey, Mikey, I gotta go. I'll talk to you later.
Okay, man, let me know if you need anything, okay?
March 17th, 2020. West Virginia reports its first COVID-19 case, meaning the disease is present in all 50 states.
March 18th, 2020. China reports no new domestic infections in the country for the first time since the outbreak began. If the trend holds for 14 days, it could be a sign that China's outbreak is ending. The country is still seeing travel-related COVID-19 cases, and it remains to be seen whether China will be able to prevent a second wave of infection once the government's strict lockdown measures are lifted.
March 19th, 2020. Italy's death toll tops 4,000, making it the first country to report more overall deaths than China, despite its much smaller population. The following week, COVID-19 deaths in Spain would similarly eclipse deaths in China.
March 20th, 2020. New York City State reports that more than 15,000 people have tested positive for COVID-19 and account for roughly half of the infections in this country. The vast majority of New Yorkers with COVID-19 are in the New York City region, which Mayor Bill de Blasio calls the epicenter of this crisis, warning that the outbreak will get worse as supplies dwindle.
March 24th, 2020. Japan postpones the 2020 Summer Olympics, which were originally slated to be held in Tokyo starting July 24th, until summer 2021. Countries including Canada and Australia had already announced that given the public health risk of the COVID-19 pandemic, they would not be sending their athletes to the Games.
March 24th, 2020. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi announces a total ban on the country's 1.3 billion citizens from leaving their homes for 21 days in order to stop the spread of COVID-19.
March 26th, 2020. The United States now has more confirmed coronavirus cases than any other country in the world, with cases topping 82,000 and deaths topping 1,000.
April 2nd, 2020. More than 1 million people around the world have been diagnosed with COVID-19. Given testing shortages, undiagnosed cases, and suspicions about governments obscuring the scope of their respective outbreaks, the actual number of people sickened is believed to be much higher.
April 14th. My life became pretty quiet with just my parents and I. I'm going to go insane if I don't get out of here. I actually look forward to my online classes because it is something to keep me busy. I have a heart condition, so I am considered high risk for complications from COVID. So I'm stuck at home in Toledo, Ohio.
On surviving as a Black disabled woman in the days of COVID and Black Lives Matter. Black bodies are in danger. The value of chronically ill and disabled bodies is up for debate. This body is a liability. This body. soft, poked, prodded, scarred, stretched, tired, frail, fragile, bony, broken, still alive, with light brown skin drained of color, this body. But is there not more to me than this body, you see? Am I simply this vessel, easily perceived, for the story they're waiting to exploit? Or am I comprised of both this vessel and what it carries, a messy conglomeration? The combined effort, the result of if you stay out of the sun, you almost look white. But you're not like them. I don't see you as. You just need a better attitude. You're so articulate. Each time they call me articulate, I am left to wonder which part of my identity is being insulted today. Ready to fight. A quiet revolution here while they're screaming in the streets. Because for folks like me, sometimes survival is an act of rebellion. When I'm a waste of space in a hospital room, when my skin color makes me a thug, when they're ready for me to be the next sacrifice to maintain their lovely little way of life. Can you make room for the quiet revolutions? For the whispers that echo? The mumbles that permeate? Will my voice be heard when this body can't make it to the streets?
What brings you back today, Ryan?
Well, I've just been having some issues at school and I'm having a hard time dealing with them, if that makes any sense. I figured I could talk to you about it.
Go on.
It's just, I've been getting a lot of hate from people at my school and people have been treating me because of my race. I thought that having friends around to support me would help, but they don't really get it. I feel like I have no respect around here whatsoever.
Has this harassment been ongoing?
I mean, I've been dealing with racism my whole life, but I thought college would change that.
What kept you from reaching out to people earlier?
I got nervous. I figured that no one would believe me because I'm different from them. No one really seems to trust a person who's a different color.
Have you talked with your mother about this?
No, not really. I've been talking to my friend Mikey, but I'm not really ready to talk to my mom yet. She isn't the most understanding.
Why don't you think she would be understanding?
She's just not. One time I was driving home from swimming practice and she thought I was crying, but I was just sweaty and wet from the pool. Then that became a whole thing.
Sometimes mothers can overreact a tad bit.
You think?
So, what exactly do these bullies say to you?
They treat me like some sort of threat and tell me to go back to the Philippines. I get really offended. They treat me like I'm some kind of thug, but I never steal anything.
Did this happen a lot in the past? Perhaps in high school?
Yeah. Bullies in high school would slam me into lockers, or they'd say more offensive stuff in history class when we talked about the slaves and conditions back in the 1800s.
I understand what kind of trouble you are dealing with. It seems like the main concern is you're having haunting memories.
Well, if a person didn't have a haunting memory, then they wouldn't have to go to therapy in the first place.
True. Have you tried the breathing exercises I recommended last time?
To be honest, I didn't. It's been months since our last appointment, and I just don't think deep breaths are going to help me with hate I've been feeling recently.
Ryan, I've given you these instructions to help you. I really think we should be taking more steps.
I'm sorry. Just please let me try to take some breaths now.
All right. I want you to breathe in, hold it for 6 seconds, and breathe out for 8. Does that make you feel any better?
A little bit.
I'm glad.
What do you think I should do for real?
Something I recommend to most of my patients is to try thinking of all the positives you have in your life. You have family and friends that support you. Don't focus on the downsides.
Even people I barely talk to?
Yes, it's always good to make new connections.
April 24th. Now I'm over a month, classes are ending, but that's okay. My job working at Toledo Mudhens Minor League Baseball Stadium will be starting soon. I'm a ticket taker at the Mudhens Baseball Stadium. I have not left my house in a month, except to ride my bike around my neighborhood. What a life for a 20-year-old!
April 26, 2020. By April 26th, the coronavirus pandemic had killed more than 200,000 people and sickened more than 2.8 million worldwide, according to data collected by the New York Times. The actual toll is higher by an unknown degree and will remain so for some time.
May 13th, 2020. Dr. Mike Ryan, the head of the WHO's Health Emergencies Program, said the virus may become just another endemic virus in our communities, and this virus may never go away. He also tamped down expectations that the invention of a vaccine would provide a quick and complete end to a global crisis.
May 22nd, 2020. Brazil overtook Russia in reporting the second highest count of infections worldwide, reaching more than 330,000. Peru and Chile ranked among the hardest hit countries in the world in terms of infections per capita, around 1 in 300. Data from Ecuador indicated that it was suffering one of the worst outbreaks in the world. The United States remained the global epicenter with more than 1.6 million cases and the number of deaths nearing 100,000.
May 27th, 2020. 4 months after the government confirmed the first known case, more than 100,000 people who had the coronavirus were recorded dead in the United States. The death toll was far higher than in any other nation around the world.
May 29th, 2020. After accusing the WHO of helping the Chinese government cover up the early days of the coronavirus pandemic in China, Mr. Trump said the United States would terminate its relationship with the agency. Mr. Trump took no responsibility for the deaths of 100,000 Americans from the virus, instead saying that China had instigated a global pandemic.
May 31st, 2020. Mass protests over the police violence against Black Americans in the wake of George Floyd's death in custody of the Minneapolis police spurred concerns that the gatherings could lead to new outbreaks. By May 31st, there had been protests in at least 75 U.S. cities.
By far the most critical gift given us by our allies was the Black Panthers' commitment to feed each protester in the building one hot meal every day. The Panthers representative explained that the decision of Panthers Brad Lomax and Chuck Jackson to participate in the 504 sit-in necessitated a Panther response, and that if Lomax and Jackson thought we were worth their dedication, then the Panthers would support all of us. I was a white girl from Boston who'd been carefully taught that all African American males were necessarily, of necessity, my enemy, but I understood promises to support each other's struggles. Corbett O'Toole.
I would like to be remembered as a person who wanted to be free, so other people would also be free. Rosa Parks.
You can't separate peace from freedom, because no one can be at peace unless he has his freedom. Malcolm X.
Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Justice is never given. It is exacted, and the struggle must be continuous, for freedom is never a final fact, but a continuing, evolving process to higher and higher levels of human, social, economic, political, and religious relationship. A. Philip Randolph.
I am no longer accepting the things I cannot change. I am changing the things I cannot accept. Dr. Angela Davis.
Hey, Ryan, sorry to keep you waiting. Traffic was an absolute nightmare.
Hey, I'm glad you made it back safe. I heard what was going on downtown. You okay? You aren't hurt, are you?
Yeah, dude, I'm fine. Just tired as hell. Couldn't even make it to the interview, but it's no big deal.
I'm glad you're okay. How have you been these past few weeks? I feel like we haven't talked in forever.
Yeah, and that's completely my fault. I've just been feeling overwhelmed with school. Who knew completely changing the way we learn things halfway through the semester would be so hard, but hey, at least it's over now. We can finally start working on our beach bods.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy, you good? You seem kind of down.
I'll be okay.
Ryan, what's wrong?
Why do we have to be born different? Life would be so much easier for us if we were white. We wouldn't be picked on, we wouldn't feel alone and out of place like we don't belong. Why do we have to be born like this?
Wow.
It's not fair. We had no choice in how we were born, but for some reason we get punished for looking and sounding just a little different.
You're right, you know. It's not fair that we're treated different, but you shouldn't feel ashamed or alone. You saw the news, right? People just like you and me are down there and they're fighting because they felt the same as you. Things aren't great right now, but they will be someday soon. We have to wait on it.
How long can we keep waiting, man?
I don't know, but what else can we do?
What if we went down there and protested too?
I don't know, Ryan. Don't you think that's a little dangerous?
Yeah, but it beats staying home and doing nothing. Come on, John Mayer. You can't keep waiting on the world to change.
Really? John Mayer?
Don't hate the player. Hate the game. Now, come on, are you in or what?
Maybe. I have to think about it.
What, do you have to ask your mommy for permission?
Shut up! But yeah, I should probably at least mention it. Speaking of things I'm gonna regret bringing up, you talked to your mom yet?
Yeah.
And?
I don't want to talk about it.
Perfect, I don't want to hear about it.
Mikey!
I'm kidding, dude. What happened?
Not much. She just kept bugging me, so we talked.
And?
It wasn't pleasant, that's for sure. She just yelled at me like it's my fault that I can't talk to her. She wants to be involved in my life, but she overreacts to every little thing. I feel like I'm being smothered.
Foreign parents. Am I right or am I right?
I know she's just worried about me, but I wish she would be more supportive instead of just pointing out my mistakes.
Things will get better. You just gotta be patient.
I hope so.
Ryan, come down for dinner.
Speak of the literal devil. I gotta head out.
I know, bud. Hey, tell your mom I said. Hey.
Definitely not. I'll talk to you later. See ya.
I'm hungry here at Clint all the time. I'm so hungry that I've woken up in the middle of the night with hunger. I'm too scared to ask the officials for any more food.
There isn't water or soap to wash our hands after we use the bathroom. We have to ask for toilet paper if we want any.
My sister and I hold a blanket up for one another so no one can see us go to the bathroom. I am 5 years old. I am from Honduras.
I am 7 years old.
I am from
El Salvador.
I was born in El Salvador. I traveled to the U.S. in New Jersey. We entered the U.S. by crossing the Rio Grande River on a raft to safety. We got wet I was wet when I got here and was placed in a cage without being given the right. Asian separated me from my dad. I have not seen my father again.
I was wet when I got here and was placed in the cage without being given dry clothes.
It is so cold. I was shaking so hard. I'm the third teenage girl who has tried to take care of this little 2-year-old boy. I feed him and give him water.
I also take care of another little kid. She calls me Mama. She is 6 years old.
There is no room to move without stepping over the others. We are not given a mat to sleep on, so we had to sleep on the cold concrete floor. The lights are on all the time.
We cannot sleep because every 15 to 20 minutes, the guards are yelling something. Get up.
We spent all day and every day inside of that room. There are no activities, only crying.
During the 2 weeks we've been here, they have let us outside about 5 times for 20 minutes.
I would like to get some fresh air.
I've been here without bathing for 21 days.
Once, I needed clean clothes for my baby because she threw up. But when I asked for them, I was told they didn't have any available. She is still in the same dirty clothes. I have not asked for anything since then.
About 3 days ago, I got a fever. They moved me to a flu cell. There is no one to take care of you there. They just give you pills twice a day.
My skin is itchy and red, and my nose is stuffed up. It's so ugly to be locked up all the time.
I miss my mother who lives in Delaware. I don't know why I am still here.
I don't want to go back to my country. Sometimes, when we ask, we are told we will be in here for months.
Just remember, we are treating them and doing a much better job than the Obama administration.
We're not forcing aliens to drink out of the toilet.
You're never going to have a Hyatt at the border. It's never going to be great. That's never with the intention.
After the bombing of Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941, the lives of Japanese Americans would change forever. On February 19th, 1942, President Franklin D. Roosevelt would authorize the evacuation of over 110,000 people of Japanese descent along the Pacific coast and incarcerate them into relocation camps. Over 60% of these people were U.S. citizens. It would take 4 years for the last of these relocation camps to close. It would take another 4+ decades for the last of these for the U.S. government to condemn its own actions as racist and xenophobic and offer reparations to those Japanese American families whose lives were upended by the incarceration. In remembrance of this dark stain in U.S. history, we highlight some of the internment camp survivors' experiences in their own words.
The Associated Press detailed conditions inside a Customs and Border Patrol detention center in Clint, Texas, where allegedly 250 infants, children, and teenagers are being held. According to the AP, there is not adequate food, water, or sanitation inside. The report describes teen mothers and other younger kids being asked to care for infants and toddlers on their own, with little or no help from any adult. Warren Binford is one of the lawyers that visited the Texas facility and spoke with those children being held inside. She's a laws professor at Willamette University in Oregon. Professor Binford, thank you very much for being here. As I mentioned, you were inside the Texas facility. Can you just give us a sense of what it was you saw inside?
I remembered someone who lived across the street from our home as we were being taken away. When I was a teenager, I had many after-dinner conversations with my father about our internment. He told me that after we were taken away, They came to our house and took everything. We were literally stripped clean. George Takei.
Yes, basically what we saw are dirty children who are malnourished, who are being severely neglected. They are being kept in inhumane conditions. They're essentially being warehoused, as many as 300 children in a cell with almost no adult supervision.
We saw all these people behind the fence, looking out, hanging onto the wire, and looking out because they were anxious to know who was coming in. But I will never forget feeling that human beings were behind this fence like animals crying, and we were going to also lose our freedom and walk inside of that gate and find ourselves cooped up there. When the gates were shut, we knew that we had lost something that was very precious, that we were no longer free. Mary Tsukamoto.
We have children caring for other young children. For example, we saw a little boy in diapers, or he had no diapers on. He should have had a diaper on. He was 2 years old, and when I asked why he didn't have diapers on, I was told he didn't need it. He immediately urinated, and he was in the care of another child. Children cannot take care of children, and yet that's how they are trying to run this facility. The children are hardly being fed anything nutritious, and they are being medically neglected.
The stall was about 10 by 20 feet and empty, except for 3 folded army cots on the floor. Dust, dirt, and wood shavings covered the linoleum that had been laid over manure-covered boards. The smell of horses hung in the air, and the whitened corpses of many insects still clung to the hastily whitewashed walls. Yoshiko Uchida.
We're seeing a flu outbreak, and we're also seeing a lice infestation. We have children sleeping on the floor. It's the worst conditions I've ever witnessed in several years of doing these inspections.
It was a prison indeed. There's barbed wire along the top of the fence, and because the soldiers in the guard towers had machine guns, one would be foolish to try to escape. Mary Masuda Grunewald.
What you're describing is really hard to sort of put our heads around, that this is inside a U.S. government facility. I wonder, what do we know about where are these children's parents? Were they coming across a border alone? Did they come with their families and separate? How did they get there?
As far as I'm concerned, I was born here, and according to the Constitution that I studied in school, that I had the Bill of Rights that should have backed me up. And until the very minute I got onto the evacuation train, I says, it can't be. I says, how can they do that to an American citizen? Robert Kashiwagi.
Almost none of the children that we interviewed had come across the border themselves alone. Essentially, they came across the border with family, and they are trying to be united with family, who are living in the United States. Almost every child that I interviewed had family, parents, uncles, aunts, grandparents, siblings, here in the United States who are waiting for them and are ready to care for them.
Finally getting out of the camps was a great day. It felt so good to get out of the gates and just know that you were going home. Finally. Home wasn't where I left it though. Getting back, I was just shocked to see what had happened. Our home being bought by a different family, different decorations in the windows. It was our house, but it wasn't anymore. It hurt not being able to return home, but moving into a new home helped me, I believe. I think it helped me to bury the past a little too, you know? Move on from what had happened. Aya Nakamura.
But we have heard government officials say we were just caught flat-footed on this. We built these facilities, as you said, for single men, and now we have this influx of children. We simply don't have the capacity or the staff or the funding to properly care for these children. Congress needs to pass more money so that we can do our jobs better. All right, Professor Warren Binford of Willamette University, thank you for your time, and thank you for coming forward with this.
Mikey? Mikey, are you there? How do you work this Zoom thing? Mikey, weren't we meeting at 6? Didn't he say 6, honey? Thought so. Mikey? Mikey? Hey, Mikey, can you hear me? Maldito compu-
Hey, I can hear you, Ma. No need to yell at the computer. How are you? Dad doing okay?
We're okay. Your father's just going crazy being stuck in the house all day, and I'm going crazy being stuck in here with him. How are you? Did your interview go okay?
Oh, I had to reschedule my interview to another day. The protests were causing a giant traffic jam. It would have taken me hours just to get there. So I called them and they said it was fine.
Mikey, that interview was important. You can't just drop it because people want to complain about the way things are. I'm glad you made it back safe. Did you eat yet?
No, I haven't really had the time to make anything yet. And I didn't want to stop anywhere. Fight the curve, you know?
Hijo, you have to eat. Isn't there a Chick-fil-A down the street? You can get something.
No, Mom, I don't eat there anymore. And honestly, you shouldn't either. You know they fund an anti-LGBTQ plus organization, right?
Since when did getting good food become political? Since when did everything become political with you?
We don't live in a time where we can afford not to be political. Mom, people like you and me and Dad are in danger. Everyone we know that isn't white is in danger.
Says who? You can't listen to whatever the news tells you. They just want you to be scared. I've lived in this country for years, and I've never had police or anybody else try to hurt me.
Just because it doesn't happen to you doesn't mean it won't happen to anyone else. It can happen to me. I can't go a day without being scared of being pulled over and never seeing you. I'm afraid that one day I'll be walking home and someone will decide that I don't get to live anymore, and that'll be it. That's why people protest, and that's why I'm going down there and joining them. We can't keep living in fear. That isn't how to live life.
Just stay out of people's way. Keep your head down, don't stir the pot, and don't be a hero. You'll do that and you'll be fine. But if you go down to those protests, you're going to be hurt or worse.
If that's the price to pay for a chance to live a normal and happy life free of any prejudice, well, that's one hell of a bargain. I'll be fine, Ma, I promise.
What about the virus? You've been doing such a good job of only going out when you have to. Why waste all of that time for a protest? You could get sick and spread that to other people.
Don't you think racism is a bigger disease? It spread faster and killed more than Corona ever could. Besides, everyone's going to be wearing a mask.
That still doesn't make it safe. You could still get
I
sick.
know, again, just a small price to pay to be happy.
I don't get why you feel like you have to do this.
Ma, I don't understand why this is still a problem in America. We're supposed to be the land of the free, but free for who? Whatever happened to being the land of opportunity?
We have plenty of opportunity. We just have to be more careful. This country's problems aren't ours, so why should we have to deal with it?
Not our problem. Have you been paying any attention? 3,000 immigrant children gone missing in ICE custody. Their detention centers are complete dumps, and they spray those people with a gas that makes them sick 50 times a day. And that's just for the people that our country calls illegal. What about the citizens that get pulled over, detained, and deported just for being brown, no questions asked? What about the fact that we have a system built to keep our people at a disadvantage?
It's more complicated than that.
Is it more complicated that Black people can't wear their natural hair because it's considered unprofessional, but when Kim Kardashian starts wearing boxer braids, that's the next big thing? Is it too complicated to realize we live in a systematically racist society, or is it just convenient to pretend that's not the case?
I'm not saying that things are easy. I'm just saying that you are making it worse than it is. Slavery ended a long time ago, and so did segregation. We have it easy compared to back then, so why complain?
Segregation ended 56 years ago, and we aren't fighting for tolerance anymore. We're fighting for acceptance, equity, and freedom. It's great that we don't have to fight just to exist, but we're still fighting to survive. I don't want to fight anymore. I want to thrive and grow, but we can't do that if we keep letting ourselves be ignored.
And you can't thrive or grow if you're dead. What is the point of having freedom if you can't use it? Iho, I love you, but you are acting stupid. Just stay home and safe. If not for me, then for your father.
I want to do this for you guys and for me and for anyone else who wonders why the world hates them for being a different color or for speaking a different language.
And what are you going to do? You're going to yell at some people and hold up a sign? What good can you do except stay safe in your home?
I know I can't change anything. Not alone, anyway, but at least I can say I tried. And if something happens to me, then I went down swinging.
Mikey, don't go to that protest tomorrow. If you get arrested, I'm not going to bail you out.
I'll call you tomorrow when I get home, Ma.
Mikey, are you even listening to me? I am telling you
Can you
not.
tell Dad I love him, please?
Mikey, if you go down there, I will
Bye,
never.
Mom. I'll see you later. Bye.
April 30th. Guess what? You already probably guessed. The conference that I was going to see my friend at canceled. I guess I didn't really want to go to the Grand Canyon anyway. I guess there's one positive from this virus. May 15th. It has now been 2 months of being home. My music camp is now online live for Zoom on every Saturday. My new normal is getting up in the morning and doing exercises with my mom. I also spend time looking up graphic novels on Amazon. I watch a lot of YouTube videos of people doing 3 a.m. challenges, unboxing dark boxes, and calling characters at 3 a.m. My favorite are the 3 a.m. challenges. This is where the people call many scary characters, such as FNAF, Slenderman, Santa Claus, and the Grinch at 3 a.m. This is supposedly the time people call the Devil's Hour. At this time, it says that ghosts and spirits are active. I've learned not to mess with Santa Claus at 3 a.m. I try to keep in contact with my friends as much as possible. I have been texting my friends and having them at house party to talk to them. It's not the same, but it will have to do.
Hey, how have you been?
Okay, I guess. What have you been up to?
Job searching, watching movies, playing video games, that kind of stuff. What about you?
I'm back at work now. Before that, I spent a lot of time working on my music.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I learned like 3 new chords on the guitar.
Wait, so you know 6 chords now? Maybe you won't play the same 2 songs all the time.
Very funny.
I'm just messing with you. You play those songs very well.
Thanks. Oh, I also got a new puppy. My roommate's walking her right now, but I'll send you pictures.
Oh, what's her name?
Rona. Just kidding, it's Daisy.
You really had me there for a second.
You know, people are already giving their babies COVID-themed names.
Yeah, those kids are gonna get bullied badly.
Yeah, they are.
Yep.
So, how was the rest of your semester?
It wasn't great, but I made it work. You?
Awful. Online classes aren't what I signed up for.
I don't think any of us really signed up for a pandemic.
Exactly. I signed up for normal school, not Zoom University. They shouldn't have changed our classes.
Oh, I guess it was the best they could do in the unpleasant circumstance.
I just don't know if it's fair, you know? Like, why should I have to put my life on hold?
Yeah, I get that it sucks, but it's necessary to protect people.
But most people will survive. Plus, we need to make money. People have families to support.
Well, what about those who don't fare so well? You can't provide for your family if you're extremely sick or worse.
I guess. It's still excessive. I should be free to do what I want. Okay, but we shouldn't have to wear masks. Like, we shouldn't tell people what they have to wear.
Clothes in public are mandatory, and you've never complained about that.
That's not the same. This is about our freedom.
I'm all for freedom, but I don't want to put other people in danger. Brunch dates and arcades aren't worth risking lives over. Wearing a piece of fabric on your face seems like a small thing to do to save lives.
Okay, well, I went out to dinner with the girls last week and no one died. We didn't have masks and we're still healthy. We're actually doing the brunch this weekend and I don't think that makes me evil.
I never said anything about anyone being evil.
Good, because I'm not giving up my Belgian waffles.
You could make waffles at home.
That's not the same.
I don't want you to get sick. Will you just please?
We'll be fine.
I can't stop you. I just want you to be safe.
What about these protesters? No one's trying to stop them. Why are people worried about what I'm doing?
That's not the same. Those people are fighting against another danger in our society. And what do you mean? Lots of people are trying to stop them. Have you been paying any attention?
Whatever. I just don't see why people are making this into a big deal.
Ashley, racism is a big deal.
Well, yeah, racism is really bad, but it's not that common anymore.
I think it's still really common, and that's why these protests are so important.
I thought you were worried about this pandemic. Aren't you afraid these protesters are going to spread the Rona?
Actually, that does worry me. I understand why people are willing to take that risk, though.
Well, maybe they shouldn't protest then. It's not like they're slaves anymore.
Whoa there, Karen.
Hey, I am not a Karen.
You kind of sound like one right now.
You shouldn't call people Karen if it's not their name. That's basically as bad as the N-word.
As a great man once said, if you're comparing the badness of two words and you won't even say one of them, that's the worst word.
Fine.
Look, it's an insult, not a slur.
Insults are mean too.
I'm sorry. Name calling wasn't helpful.
All right. Whatever.
Have you talked to Ryan lately?
No, I haven't. Have you?
Yeah. I think we're going to video chat again later this week.
Cool. Tell him I say hi.
Yeah, sure. You could call him too, you know.
Yeah, we just don't usually talk much.
All right. I should probably get going. I told my dad I'd call him tonight.
Bye.
Bye. Stay safe.
Since March, disability rights leaders had been voicing concerns over who would be chosen to receive care when hospitals reached capacity. These fears were brushed off and pushed aside. On June 11th, Michael Hickson died at St. David's South Austin Medical Center after the hospital withheld treatment from him. They didn't even provide him with hydration or nutrition for 6 days. You see, Hickson was quadriplegic, and the doctors decided that his assumed poor quality of life made him unworthy of saving. They decided his life was less valuable. The hospital claims that they tried but couldn't save him. However, in a recorded conversation, the attending physician told Mrs. Hickson that he didn't think her husband had much quality of life, and against her wishes, Mr. Hickson would not be nourished, hydrated, or receive treatment for the pneumonia he had developed. Black disability leaders were right. They left this Black man with a disability to die. Hickson's wife and children are now left to question what may have been if he had received care.
Hey, Ashley.
Hey, Mikey. How have you been?
Could be better. You?
About the same. I saw my friends and we're all still fine.
That's good. Sorry about last time. I was just looking out for you.
I understand. I want you to know I can take care of myself.
Did you guys stay 6 feet apart?
We spent some of the evening social distancing, but not all night. It was our decision.
Again, I was just trying to help.
You get it. Isn't Ryan supposed to be coming?
He'll be here soon. What are you up to?
I've just been watching some shows on Netflix, like The Office and Parks and Rec.
Solid choices. Have you tried watching any dramas like Breaking Bad or Lost?
Those shows bring me down because they're so boring.
Those shows are really good, though. It helps distract you from things.
If it distracts me from watching reports on wearing masks or going to protests, then I'll give it a shot.
Do we really have to have this discussion again after I literally just said I was only trying to help?
I don't need help. I'm old enough to handle myself.
I know, I'm just asking you to be more cautious. Can you please just listen to me for once? Hey, dude.
Hey, Ryan.
Sorry, I'm a few minutes late.
It's no problem, man. We were just having that same argument as last time.
Oh, the one where Ashley wants to be strong and not wear masks in public?
You told him?
I tell him everything. He's my best friend.
Yeah, I know, but it was our private conversation.
It's just me, Ashley. Jeez, it's not like I'm going to tell anyone. But you should listen to Mikey and be careful out there. We have too much trouble going on outside.
Oh, now I have to take advice from you too?
I'm all for freedom as well, but also safety measures are just as important. Oh, Mikey and I are planning on going to protests. You should come too, but you'd have to wear a mask.
I'm not going to a protest. It's not that important.
They are important, Ashley. They're important to this world.
They have nothing to do with my life. It's just another distraction.
Why can't you be more open-minded?
Oh, you want to start this too?
Guys, let's calm down. Can't we just hang out like we used to?
No. Things aren't how they used to be.
Nothing was wrong with the way things used to be.
Of course you say that, Karen.
I am not a Karen.
I'm just saying protests are going to change whether you're involved or not. Things need to change.
You know what? Screw you, Ryan.
Why'd you do that?
She doesn't see it the way we do.
Just because she doesn't see things the way we do doesn't mean we have to make her.
Hopefully she'll see that things need to change.
I hope so too, Ryan.
Social movements vocabulary.
Social movement, a loosely organized effort to achieve a common goal, typically regarding social or political injustice.
Structural inequality, a system of inequality created by institutions within an economy. These institutions include the law, business practices, government policies, education, healthcare, and the media. They are powerful socializing agents that dictate what we can achieve within the society.
Oppression, unjust treatment and/or control.
Activism, the use of vigorous campaigning to bring about social or political change.
Protest, a statement or action expressing disapproval.
Riot, a violent disorder or a disturbance of peace by a crowd.
Protest art, a broad term that refers to creative works that concern or are produced by activists and social movements.
Freedom, personal liberty, exemption from external restraints.
June 3rd, my reaction to the Black Lives Matter movement protests in my hometown. Was very awesome to see that many people, not just black but white people, are wondering about how a black person's life was like for her. Hundreds of people and high school students went to the protest walk with a bunch of signs saying, "I can't breathe," and "Black Lives Matter." It's just incredible that people have changed their ways and are not hurting or bullying black people in Perrysburg, Ohio. I feel very happy that people decide to ask their questions and then decide to answer them for them and the news, so everyone in Perrysburg, Ohio can learn about the Black Lives Matter movement.
This needs to just end already. All of this. No more masks, no more restrictions, no more people in the streets. I'm tired of it. And I just don't see the point. I just want to get back to my normal life already. I can't have a single normal day. A while back, I went out to brunch with some of my friends. We wanted to just have a nice brunch, eat some waffles, gossip a little, and just chill. We had to eat outside because indoor seating was limited, which wasn't ideal because I don't like eating when bugs can get in my food. Anyway, we were just chatting when all of a sudden there was this commotion. There was this whole swarm of people in the street behind us. They were screaming something about justice and peace. Some dude had a huge megaphone and others were just yelling. It kind of ruined the relaxing atmosphere of our meal. I saw on the news that there were still people there later, 12 hours later. It got more chaotic at night, so I'm glad I live in the suburbs instead of over there. There was a bunch of cops and they arrested a bunch of people who were breaking some law or something. It seemed pretty scary. I wonder if that's kind of what war is like. I think a lot of students are staying in apartments downtown, and I don't know if it's safe to have young people around all that chaos. I'm not against free speech or anything. Protesting's a right, and that's great. I'm just wishing they could have done it somewhere else where they wouldn't be disturbing people. I mean, it's not like I personally ever killed anyone. I don't know. I'm just tired of this chaos.
This has been surreal. Not surprising, but truly surreal. Watching people debate the value of your life, watching as they say things that you've always suspected they thought about you, being stuck at home, wondering if you'll survive to see the other side of this, and still trying to hold on to hope is really kinda wild. I've mostly just been watching. I'm in the group chats. I see the arguments. I think they're too uncomfortable to include me. Maybe it's fear. Maybe it's guilt. Maybe I just expect too much. You know what else is weird? Some of my friends have been fighting for us, for me. Then some of them seem not to care. And it's so strange that they're so disconnected from my reality. I thought standing up for each other was part of friendship, but maybe I misunderstood. I just hope things get better. Whether it's in a month, a year, 5 years, 10 years, I hope the world is better when it comes out of this.
I just recently went to a Black Lives Matter protest downtown, and I'm here to describe my experiences. It was very different than the ones you would usually see on the news. The news of these protests would always show the violence and not even tell what actually happened. There were about 1,000 people there, and no violence occurred at all. Police officers were there to ensure the safety of protesters. All the protesters, including myself, marched along the sidewalks, and portions of streets were closed. Almost everyone had signs, masks, and other sorts of merchandise to spread the word and protect ourselves. We started chanting, "Black Lives Matter," and "Say his name," and wouldn't stop. At the end, everyone kneeled in silence for about 9 minutes. Most of the people were very nice in the area. There was also some hate we got from people who drove past us and yelled. Instead of people going to them and starting riots, we just kept marching and ignoring hate and fighting for what's right. As a young Filipino, I relate to the topic of this as I was also bullied for my skin color. We need to make a change for this country or things will end up being worse than they already are.
"16 hours. A peaceful start turned violent. 8 hours of protest doubled in repercussion. We stood peacefully with signs, posters, flags. We came unarmed but ready for conflict. We chanted and yelled praises for our cause. We stood for ourselves, each other, and those who couldn't be there. Even those on the sidelines pretending not to notice. We were diametrically opposed. Boys in blue geared up, ready for war. In a blur, everything changed. Gas sprouted towards the sky. Screams echoed off the concrete jungle. The front lines raced to the back as we were enveloped in clouds of gas. Bumps turned to pushes, pushes to shoves. Walking out of the gas, seeing spurts of red, fallen friends, it was clear we were being treated as the enemy. Guns, batons, and shields raised with more clouds at hand. We were dispersed and detained by those sent to protect us. Some were caught on the spot and others fled. Some simply watched on the sidelines, never looking over, never trying to help. We rinsed the bloodshot eyes of those unfortunate enough to catch that first wave of aggression. We helped however we could, but we could only do so much to dampen the pain. Just when all seemed to be well, the cavalry arrived. They made their way towards us. Not a single body stood as loud pops fired into our crowds. Out of fear, we laid on the floor, our hands to our heads. 16 hours. 16 hours of waiting, 16 hours zip-tied, 16 hours of no food or water, 16 hours without shelter, 16 hours of being less than human. 16 hours I'm willing to sacrifice in hopes of justice.